in life are always worth taking. Love and money is always worth making. Just grab on and hold on tight. You're in for the ride of your life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. Dallas, joined by Levi. Levi, how are you doing?
What's up, Dallas? You doing all right today?
Doing pretty good. Sitting here at my Tampico. I'm trying to cut off the Dr. Peppers at least a little bit, but other than that, doing pretty good.
And it's nice out here, man. It's super nice day out here in East Tennessee, brother. I mean, we're talking like 70, sunny, winds blowing. Oh, it feels like a spring day out here.
Oh
Can't
yeah,
beat it.
I'm wearing shorts for probably the first time in a few months, so that definitely feels nice. Anyway, Levi, I guess let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot to get through today. First of all, just got to mention that Tennessee did lose to Kentucky. I felt it was kind of fluky. I feel like Tennessee just missed so many open shots that they didn't really have a chance to win that game. But I did come out of it feeling like Tennessee was the better team. But with that being said, we'll move on to Florida, a game where Tennessee was undermanned may be a little bit of an understatement. They did not have Zakai Ziegler, did not have Igor Milicic. Milicic was dealing with some flu-like symptoms, and Zakai was dealing with some lingering problems from the knee injury that he suffered against Kentucky. But all things considered, it could have been much worse. So we'll take the one game without Zakai. Florida had not scored less than 70 points all season. Tennessee held them to 44 points and 41 points below their average. And without two of your best defenders, I feel like that is something that obviously you're going to hang your hat on and look forward to. I mean, Tennessee's still at number one in Kim Palm. That was the largest UT win over a top five team in history. Shout out to Gainey and Meshack. I feel like Tennessee solidified themselves as the best defense in the country. Levi, what do you have to say about the Florida game and the victory?
In person, it was it was ugly in the first half. I was not very impressed with the offense in the first half whatsoever. It looked like Rick Barnes decided in the second half we were going to go completely away. I don't know if you recall the first play of the second half. Gainey sets up the offense, passes it to Lanier. So Lanier, regardless of his shooting struggles, he's still going to draw a lot of attention. Everybody shifts to him. It's swing back to Shaq, swing to Dubar, and we actually run a backdoor cut for maybe the first time I think I've ever seen a Rick Barnes team ever run a backdoor cut, it feels like. And Gainey gets a wide open layup. And at that moment right there, I realized that we were going to go away from what we'd been doing. We're going to let Jordan Gainey kind of take over. And I have to give tons of props to Jordan Gainey. That's about as good of point guard play as I've seen in a long time when it comes to just dictating pace and setting up the offense. He played incredibly confident the second half, sorry. And it, I mean, his assist percentage, man, 29%, like that's incredible. It's exactly what you want from a guy that you're sticking out there as your quote unquote point guard. It's like I listened to Todd Golden's post game press conference, and he said he wasn't efficient truly, 5 for 13 from the field. It's not very efficient, but he was like the way that he handled the offense and the way he controlled the entire pace of play for the game. Golden gave Gainey a lot of respect, and Gainey basically was our Zakai Ziegler that game. 37 minutes. Chaz with 36, Meshack with 36. I'm not a big fan of these small lineups that we had to run with because of Akpara getting into foul trouble, but you got to do what you got to do when you got 7 guys. So you make it work, and for some reason they made it work. And Golden stated also in his press conference, he's like, we've not been bullied like that all year. So you just have to give tons of props to the guys. And they went out, as Jemai Meshack said, we always got enough. So they proved no matter what, they'll figure out a way to get it done.
Absolutely. And I mean, we kind of knew that coming off that loss in Gainesville by 30, that Tennessee was going to have a little something for Florida when they came to Knoxville. But without the two heads of the snake, as I like to put it, Igor and Zakai, both very good defenders. I just didn't know if they would be able to do what they normally would have done. But defensively, it seems like they didn't miss a beat. I feel like you got to shout out Bishop Boswell when you look at the stat sheet. 0 points, but he had 3 assists and 2 rebounds and 1 steal that I'm not sure how he got the steal. I went back and watched the film, and it just looked like the player just dribbled it right into his hands, and he took off down the court. I thought that was pretty impressive. And you mentioned the offensive struggles. In the first half, Tennessee scored 24 points, and in the second half, they went and scored 40 points. And if you're going to score 40 points in a half, it doesn't matter if it's the first or the second half, you're more likely going to be in a good spot at the end of the game. And I do want to mention the transition play that came about in the second half. I do believe it was the second half where you had Mayshak steal the ball, save it from going out of bounds, throw it up ahead, and I think the ball went 3/4 of the court without ever touching the ground. That is as perfect of a transition transition play as you would hope to get when you run that in practice. That's exactly how it's ran. And Tennessee ran it to a T. It wound up in a Cade Phillips dunk. I'm not sure if you remember that play exactly, Levi, but I just thought it was an excellent play, a beauty of a play, and it actually made Sports Center top 10.
It should have. I don't know if you truly noticed, but Shaq read it perfectly all day. Every time we dug down, the Florida bigs would just kick it back out. So Shaq faked the dig and then stuck his arm out and he threw it right into his hand. I mean, it was as heady of a play as I've seen from a defender in college ball in a long time. There's some solid defenders in this league, but Jemai Mashak continues to prove that he is just on a different level when it comes to understanding the game and what the other team's doing. Like I said, I've watched the replay like 3 or 4 times now. Saw it live, obviously, but the fake dig, knowing that the big is immediately just going to pass that back out, it's incredible to watch because Jemai Mashak, man, his IQ on the defensive end it's one of the most impressive things you can watch in college basketball, in my opinion.
Also, got to point out Felix Okpara. He mentioned he had a little bit of foul trouble in the first half, but in the second half, he kind of showed that he is a capable back to the basket post up. I feel like Jay Billis, I believe, was the commentator, but he mentioned back whenever Tennessee had Grant and even Olivier Calmois to some instances, they would really seal the defender underneath the basket, use the rim to protect the shot, and it's already, I mean, just a put in. You just got to lay it in. And Felix done that a few times. He also had a hook shot that I feel like he has showcased at times. But with that being said, Levi, let's move on to Missouri unless you have anything else you want to add to Florida.
Great win. That's about all you can say about that one.
Absolutely. Missouri just coming off a tough Mississippi State team. They beat them, absolutely punked them by 27 points in Starkville. I feel like when you mention Missouri, you got to mention Caleb Grill. He's a 6-year player, which is absurd, but he's 6 of 11. He went 6 of 11 from three against Mississippi State. His last 5 games, he is 21 of 35 or 60% from three, and he's actually not a starter. There was one play in particular against Missouri. He hit a logo three, and you know how long the Mississippi State logo is, but he hit it from the second I following the M, and that was basically unguardable. That feels like a player you're going to have to be focused on all night. Mississippi State, excuse me. Missouri went 15 of 32, which is 47% as a team from deep. Hazometrics favors UT 69-63. I think Tennessee being at home helps the Vols get over the hump and pour out a win against the Tigers. Levi, what do you got to say?
I agree with you. Grill is a guy that you definitely. I mean, you got to make him put it on the floor. You're absolutely correct. He's absolutely the type of guy. But the guy that worries me the most is Mark Mitchell. They're
Absolutely.
big. He he's a dog, man, and I mean, he's not like crazy, like great, but he's just so efficient. He kind of reminds me a little of Tolu Smith in a way. He's not as big, but just the way he plays the game. He's physical. He's tough. He's just sometimes more mentally tough and physically tough than whoever's guarding him, and that can be a problem for us at times. So that's going to be a definitely. I guess it's going to be an Igor matchup because they're going to probably start Pierce at the 5. So Akpara, but man, it's once again, Dallas. I've said it every single podcast we've had recently. You just sit and look at these depth charts and minute percentages, and it's like these other teams, they're just so much deeper than we are. They have so much more depth. They have so many more players. For Missouri, you got a guy playing 42% of minutes, 63% of minutes, 57% of minutes, 66, 35, 43, 51, 37. And then our team is 75, 81, 64, 67, 60, 70. We got to figure out a way, maybe not play people as much, but there's just not much we can do with the lineup that we got at the moment. So
Definitely some issues there. But let me ask you this: Are there, even with the depth issues, are there many rosters in the SEC that you would take over Tennessee's right now, currently, even with the depth issues?
maybe three.
Maybe
I
three.
would take, yeah, I'd take Auburn, I'd take Alabama, and then I'd put us three. So I'll
Nah,
take I'll take I'll take those two over ours, just with the pure depth and scoring ability that those teams have.
yeah, it's definitely it's a close race there. I feel like, and to be that close, even with the depth Tennessee has, I feel like is a compliment to the team, the players that they do have. So you got Tennessee getting the win, or do you have Missouri pulling it out on Wednesday night?
I like the fact we're at home for us to get the win. This will be pretty much, I do believe, if that score prediction holds up, 69-63, I think Tennessee gets the win. We can figure out a way to win this one, I believe. I don't think they shoot the ball well enough to, as long as we can keep Grill from taking wide open threes over and over, keep them out the paint, which I think that's what I've said about every team we've played so far this year, is if we can keep them out the paint, they won't beat us, and then a couple halves. So I don't think they have a true, like, number one scoring threat that we really have to worry about. I did hear um, Coach Clark talking today on 99.1 stating that, they recruited a lot of these guys that play for Missouri, so they're very aware of what they can do and how good they are and what they bring to the table. So I think that bodes well for Tennessee, that the scouting report will probably be, many familiar players. So I do think Tennessee wins. If I had to predict it, I would guess it's 72, 62, 72, 64, something like that.
I can't say I disagree much at all there. Let's go ahead and move on to Oklahoma now, a team that just beat Vanderbilt by 30 in Oklahoma, which is where Tennessee's going. They're going on the road. I mean, they have Jeremiah Fears. He's a future NBA lottery pick. He struggles a little bit from three, 27%, but 46% from the field elsewhere. And then there's Jalen Moore, 18 points per game, 53.6% from the field, and 43% from three. He's a forward, a little bit of a stretch forward. Hazard metrics, funny enough, picks Tennessee to get the win 69-63 once again. I'm not sure how many times that has happened where the score is the absolute same. But Levi, what do you have to say about the Sooners?
You nailed it. I mean, Jeremiah Fears, that's your one guy to watch. If you let him beat you, you're cooked. I like that matchup with Shaq. I think Shaq's got the, seniority on him. He's a lot tougher. We'll see how Fears handles the physicality. I've watched a couple games, and Fears hasn't handled physicality all that well. He is a great basketball player. He doesn't really scare me as long as the refs allow us to be physical, but it is at Oklahoma. I think the predicted score on my end here, Dallas, if you'll give me 2 seconds, is 69-65. Vols win. So about the same as Missouri, which is a little concerning that they have Missouri that close with us. But Fears is really, really good. Also, you have to be careful with Kobe Elvis, one of the best names in college basketball. He's the type of guy that could really beat you off the dribble. And they said today Zakai is going to be back. He was on the locker room last night. I don't know if you saw, but they asked him if he'd come back for a fifth year if they allowed him, and he said, "Why wouldn't I?" So hopefully that all passes. But yeah, I mean, truly, in my opinion, with Oklahoma, it's guard play. I don't worry about their bigs at all. No offense to Oklahoma's bigs, but I think our bigs have the chance to really set the tone in that game. So if our bigs, I also would really like to get back to the same actions we ran Saturday against Florida. The wiggle cuts, the backdoor screens, the all kinds of, the offense moving. I'm not sure what you think, Dallas, but I think that sometimes our guys just kind of stand around and watch Zakai Ziegler dribble around and hope that he makes a play for them.
I agree, and I feel like you saw what happened in the first half was more of a Tennessee being against Florida. Going back to that, was Tennessee was kind of shell shocked of what to do without Zakai, And then in the second half, they said, you know what, we're just going to have to win this ourselves. And they went and done that. I feel like, as you mentioned, Tennessee sometimes does a little bit of too much east and west, where they move the ball from baseline to baseline or sideline from sideline, excuse me. And they need to get more north and south, attack the rim. And when they do that, I feel like good things happen. But anyway, let's move on to our hardly known hoopers. Hit the music.
These people don't know who I am, man. They gonna know who I am.
These people hardly know me though. Do they know me? Hey, these people hardly know me though. Do they know me? Hey, these people hardly know me though.
Levi, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You can go first. I like it when you start us off on the hardly knowns.
Absolutely. My guy is Gabriel Pizzato from Evansville. Recently had 29 against Murray State, 22 against my Belmont Bruins. He's a transition finisher, can at the rim, a little bit of 3-point shooting as well. He's not really a back to the basket guy in transition or half court. He's more of a slasher. He's 6'7", I think. He's a freshman from Rome, Italy. 15.8 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 48.2% from the field. My hardly known hooper is Gabriel Pizzato.
I like that pick, man. I watched that Murray State game. That was a fun one.
Absolutely.
I have Ante Brizovic from Charleston, averaging 18 and a half a game this year. Just an absolute stud, man. I really wish he wasn't a senior because he's basically Igor Milicic, but just a powerhouse down low. I mean, he's like a Grant Williams type guy. You can just drop it down to him and just clear it out, let him do his work. Really, really fun player. I watched the Charleston versus Stony Brook game and the Charleston versus Elon game. If we're getting into sicko over here, which sometimes you and I do, as you sent me a link the other night watching one-on-one. But yeah, Ante Brizovic, I would love to have a guy like him. He'd be perfect for our offense. You just got to drop it down. He's gonna get you something. He also has a ton of blocks on the year somehow. I mean, he's not a huge guy, but he just somehow finishes the ball. He's almost, you could almost, Dallas, say that he's a college type of Nikola Jokic. He's not
That's a good comparison.
he's not gonna be crazy athletic, but you're also just not gonna stop him because his passing ability is so good. And once again, I don't think I've had a normal name for a hardly known hooper this year. So like I said, I gravitate towards these slow white guys like myself.
As a also a slow white guy, I tend to gravitate a little bit towards that as well. All right, moving on to our college basketball pick'em. I know this is Levi's favorite segment. I am
Really?
currently 17 and 15. Went 3-1 last week, so I'm back above 500 finally. Levi,
Attaboy.
you are 21 and 11. You also went 3-1, so if I can get you to keep missing some games, I might catch up here in a little bit. And now it's time to get to the games. We have Oklahoma at Auburn. I'm taking Auburn just because, I mean, I don't think I have to explain that Auburn is just not losing a game this year in the SEC. It doesn't seem. Levi, who do you have?
Auburn. I don't even want to get into it. Just give me Auburn.
Absolutely. Moving on to Vanderbilt at Florida. I picked Florida to bounce back and get a nice win at home over the Commodores. Levi, who do you have?
I like Florida as well in that one. I don't think Vanderbilt will be able to score enough, and Vanderbilt's starting to slump a little bit. They just lost by 30 to Oklahoma, so I'm going to take Florida.
Sounds good. All right, and then probably my favorite game of the week, actually. St. John's at UConn. Rick Pitino has St. John's. I mean, in just his second year, they're about to make the NCAA tournament. But going to UConn, I feel like they're just going to be a little outmanned by the talent on the UConn side and the fans at UConn, as well as Dan Hurley being an absolute madman on the sidelines. So I'm going with Connecticut to pull off the win here. Levi, who do you have?
Give me UConn. Yeah, I'm not trying to carbon copy, but it's the January UConn's done, and if you've looked at the trend for the last 2 years. January, UConn's been real bad, and then for some reason in February and March, UConn figures it all out, and they're just great. So yeah, give me UConn.
Well, I feel like I know who you're going to pick here, but Florida at Auburn. This is a game that kind of intrigues me a little bit. I feel like the Gators could hang in this for a little while, but at the end, I just feel like Auburn is just going to do what they do and win a game in the SEC. How can you pick against Auburn at this point, Levi? So who do you have?
Taking Florida. They'll shoot the ball well. Auburn doesn't defend as well as everybody thinks they do because they held us to 50 points. We just couldn't throw one in the ocean. Our defense was as good as it was Saturday. We just played a better offensive team. I like Florida to get hot early, maybe. And I'm gonna not carbon copy you here, and I'm gonna go with Florida. I think the sprain on Walter Nolan's foot is fine. He's gonna play, so he may not play against Vanderbilt, but he's gonna play against Auburn. And I like Florida to get hot and hit some shots, some open shots, and defend well enough. I also really like the matchup down low for Florida in this one. Cardwell's kind of a punk, and Chinulu. I don't know how to say that, but who plays for Florida, he's kind of a punk as well. So I'd expect some technical fouls in this game.
Just to clarify, you did mean Walter Clayton, correct?
Sorry, I said Walter Nolan. Here I am talking football.
It gave me a giggle. So
Yeah. Clarification. Walter Clayton.
I didn't want people to think you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you won't cut that out. So it's fine.
All right, so moving on, let's go to our locker room cleaning update.
We interrupt this program for a special locker room cleaning update.
Tennessee basketball is back in the top 5 of the AP Top 25. This is the 34th time Tennessee is in the top 5 under Rick Barnes. And before Rick Barnes, Tennessee was just in the top 5 17 times. So Rick Barnes has just, there's nothing I can say. It's already been said. But speaking of Coach Barnes, we want to say rest in peace to his brother, Tommy Barnes, and we send our condolences to the Barnes family. And now to the topic, Levi, that you were interested in discussing on here, the recent NBA trade where Luka Doncic was sent to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and I believe 1 or 2 first-round picks. Levi, since you were so excited to discuss this topic, I'll let you start us off with your thoughts on the trade.
So first off, I don't want to hear about, well, they can't do it because LeBron's ball dominant, Luka's ball dominant. All right, so LeBron went to the finals with Kyrie, who they said was ball dominant, and won a finals. Luka last year just made the finals with Kyrie, who they said was ball dominant, and they both have to have the basketball in their hands to make plays. It's not true. JJ Redick has done a great job of allowing Austin Reeves to be the most ball dominant person on the Lakers roster this year. So now you're switching out Austin Reeves for Luka Doncic. And Luka can also play off ball. And now you have Austin Reeves who's shooting the ball at one of the highest clips in the league. So I don't understand why all these people are saying that like the Lakers lost this trade. I've seen so many people talking about how, the Mavericks won this trade. Like, it's way they won this trade by a long shot. Maybe this year. Maybe. We'll see. Mavericks are behind the Lakers when it comes to standings and everything at the moment. But for the future, the Lakers no longer have to think of a rebuild. When LeBron James retires, you have a 27, 28-year-old Luka Doncic. So you get 7, 8 more years out of Luka as long as he takes care of himself, which I think he will now, because there's been reports coming out that the Mavericks were growing increasingly tired of the fact that he wanted multiple trainers, and they kept cutting off the fact that he wanted to bring his own trainers. Well, you have Rob Pelinka as the GM for the Lakers, correct? Rob
Yes.
Pelinka was Kobe's AD or GM or agent. Sorry, AD, GM, whatever, same thing. So Rob Pelinka basically forced the Lakers to do whatever Kobe wanted. So You think Rob Pelinka's going to care if Luka has 37 trainers on the sidelines taking care of him? No, because LeBron James has been that way the entire time. So now Luka can finally get into the shape he needs to be in because he's not going to have a GM and an organization and telling him that, like, oh, no, you need to use the teams, blah, blah, blah. The Lakers aren't that way. So I think this is going to work perfectly. Will the Lakers be better this year? I couldn't tell you. We're sitting at the 5 seed right now. Could possibly end up being a top 2 seed. Who knows? Based off, but I saw a report today that Luka could return as early as Sunday. So maybe he's pulling a Kawhi Leonard or a James Harden to where they're hurt until they get traded, and all of a sudden, like, oh, you know what? That leg doesn't feel so bad. But I think all the statistics and all the truths are way more than just people bringing up well, Russell Westbrook was a ball dominant player and him and LeBron couldn't play together. You're going to compare Russell Westbrook to Luka Doncic? Get out of here. So that's all I have to say.
Well, I might have to put a little bit of a slowdown there, Levi, on the top 2 in the West stuff. Oklahoma City has that 1 seed locked down, and I don't know
You
if
can have the 1. I'm just saying we can get to the 2.
it's possible. But honestly, it's pretty well known from people that know me that I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. I'm not the biggest fan in general of his basketball antics and some of his off the court opinions, but that's neither here nor there. But I do feel like this is the first time, and this is factually correct, that LeBron's usage is not the highest on the Lakers since Anthony Davis came over. He is second. So he has shown that he is willing to kind of take that back seat. Will he be willing to take the back seat for Luka? That's not been seen yet. I mean, we don't know if it's pretty much been said that LeBron had nothing to do with this Luka trade, so he could be upset with it. We don't really know at this point. But as far as on the court, I feel like it can work. I mean, you put Luka on one side of the court and LeBron on the other. Just try to put them as far apart as possible and spread the defense out. I do feel like defensively, the Lakers took a big hit. I mean, Anthony Davis is one of the best when he's on the court and healthy, one of the best rim protectors and just defensive big men in the league. And now the Lakers are really without any type of post defense and rim protection. They could always pick someone up. It seems like they are very active in the market. As far as and again on the offense, I feel like they run horns a lot. I feel like they can get Luka the ball at the elbow, and then LeBron can get a flare screen to kind of cut out, and Luka can feed LeBron. They can work off that, the 2 game maybe. And I think the other question that I really have about this all as a Tennessee fan, this perspective, is what happens to Dalton Connect. I don't know how long
He gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Do you know the Lakers record this year without Anthony Davis? Just a question for you.
I do. I'm going to guess they probably have a winning record just because that's when LeBron seems to turn it on and he seems to do it with his back against the wall. He just turns on and he absolutely cooks. So I'm going to guess that the Lakers probably have a winning record without Davis.
4-1.
4-1. A little bit of a small sample size, but it's a sample size.
I mean, let's see. Lost to Memphis in November, 114-131, and then they beat the Trailblazers, the Nets, the worst team in basketball, and the Wizards, and then actually whipped up on who people are considering a dark horse to win the East this year in the Knicks on Saturday without him. So 800 this year without AD. I don't think. I mean, I love Anthony Davis. Don't get me wrong. I think this trade was a very good thing for the Lakers because the future is settled. You have nothing to worry about from here on out. Let's say you don't make this trade and you try to build your team around a 4-year-old Anthony Davis in 2 years when LeBron retires. I'm just going to give LeBron 2 years. Well, you can't build a team around a 34-year-old big man that gets hurt all the time. What you can do is build a team around a 27-year-old superstar that's likely going to end up a top 20 player all time and just carried his team to the finals, 38-8 in the finals, by the way. So I think the Lakers won this trade by a heavy margin.
I do have to ask, Levi, LeBron, he has I saw this tweeted out already. I can't remember who tweeted out, but he has his player option in 2025, 2016. So I believe that's this upcoming off season. Do do you see a world where LeBron wants out and goes to Dallas to join Kyrie and AD?
No, the reports coming out now are that LeBron will likely sign an extension because of the fact that they traded for Doncic. I don't know if you ever have noticed, but LeBron's like infatuated with Luca. So
Yeah.
I think this is like exactly what LeBron wanted. All the reports coming out that LeBron had no idea they were trading AD. I love LeBron as a basketball player off the court. Clean it up, brother. Clean it up. But yeah, he's always got something going on behind the scenes, and he definitely had a little bit to do with this.
I do think it's interesting for the Mavericks because you add Anthony Davis with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, two of the better rim protectors in the league, along with Anthony Davis, and all of a sudden they have a post depth that is pretty stout. You lose, of course, the scoring and playmaking that Luka Doncic brings you, but Kyrie Irving has a big man that actually is a little more versatile. He can work with. I feel like it's very interesting from the Mavericks standpoint. I don't really know what they were thinking, but I know Nico, the I believe GM, said that his thought is that he is a defense wins championships guy, which I tend to agree with. And he said that he felt as though Anthony Davis would help their long term chances for a championship. Kind of funny to me considering that Luka just brought them to the finals last season. But I mean, there are some conspiracy theories that this was done just so that the Mavericks could get out of Dallas and go to LA. I mean, not LA, but Las Vegas. I mean, I could see it honestly. That's about all I have for it.
They'll add an extension team to LA or Las Vegas. Dang it, Dallas, you got me over here saying LA. Before they move any teams. I believe personally your top two areas that are going to be added to the NBA in the next couple of years will be Las Vegas and Seattle. You'll get a Seattle team back, which I don't know if you were a Seattle guy since you're a Thunder guy now. I'm not sure how that happened, but if you were a Seattle guy, you'll get your Supersonics back, and then you'll have your Las Vegas Cards or whatever the heck they call them. And you'll see Memphis move from the west to the east, and that'll balance everything out. I think that's the best course of action for the NBA at the moment.
I'll have to discuss my origins of a Thunder fan later on, but I have right here on the locker room cleaning update list one last topic, really quick, that Bill Haslam has placed in a bid along with Candace Parker, Tim McGraw, and Faith Hill to bring an WNBA team to Nashville in 2028. The team would be called the Tennessee Summit, giving props and paying tribute to the greatest basketball coach of all time, in my opinion, Pat Summitt. I did want to ask Levi real quick before we get off of here. One player you would like to see on the Summit if the team were to become a real thing?
Kelsey Plum.
You're trying to make
no reason.
You're trying to make me have a long tangent here, but I agree. I would love to have Kelsey Plum on there. And Kelsey, if you're listening to this, call me sometime.
Whoa. Hey, we could also we could try to climb the mountain, bring old girl from the Sparks over.
I'm more of a Kelsey Plum guy myself, but anyway, that's
Kelsey Plum is that's the one, man. Bring her to Nashville.
But that's it for this week's episode of the Beyond the Arc podcast. Go Vols.